It's Hedgehog TV. I'm Edward Chuchakin. On the other side of the camera is my wife Zoe Sofronova. We are in St. Petersburg, Russia. Both of us are quite well-known guides in this city. Unfortunately, due to coronavirus, we cannot make real excursions to our beloved tourists. All the borders in the world are closed now, and we have no idea how soon they are going to be opened again. But we've got an idea. Why wouldn't we share our knowledges and interesting stories with all the world? Moreover, Zoe is a professional historian and journalist, and I'm a good storyteller. At least my tourists always say so. Confidentially, I'm not good with the camera. We are launching now our new project, Hedgehog TV, presenting series of programs about history of Russia and St. Petersburg. We will do our best to make it interesting and fascinating. If you like our programs, please feel free to donate us. You can find link to PayPal in description or contact us direct. Your donations will be highly appreciated. It will support us in this hard time when no tourists visit St. Petersburg. The money you donate will help us to make new interesting programs for you. Click the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do hope to see you in future in St. Petersburg as our tourists. And now, enjoy watching. St. Petersburg, 29th of December 2010. New Year is coming. Bobby Farrell, frontman of the famous German disco group Boney M, arrives to St. Petersburg to give a concert on Gazprom Corporative New Year's party at Gymnasium restaurant. Boney M was extremely popular in Soviet Union. That was one of the few Western bands officially allowed in USSR behind the Iron Curtain. That song, Rasputin, was released by Boney M in 1978 that made Bobby Farrell world famous. During the concert, he doesn't feel well. He returns back to his hotel, Ambassador, and goes to his room number 707. That was at 10:45 p.m. The next morning at 10 a.m., other Boney M singers find him dead in the room. Official autopsy report says he has died in the night from heart failure. Bobby Farrell probably didn't know that very night, on December 30, 94 years ago, not far from this hotel, about half mile that way, the other person had died under mysterious circumstances. He was murdered in a cruel way. That was Grigory Rasputin, a man who was so well performed by Bobby Farrell in the song. Coincidence? I don't think so. right here at Yusupov's palace. In the night on 30th of December 1916, that very Grigory Rasputin dramatically finished his life. He was assassinated in a very cruel way. Even now, not everything is clear about that crime. Still many secrets and mysteries. Who was Grigory Rasputin? Many people still argue about him. Was he a great magician or talented hoaxer, prophet or liar, man of God or man of devil, powerful healer or just a trickster? Was he a good person or bad one, Christian saint or great sinner? So many questions. We will do our best to find answers to all of them. Grigory Rasputin, a man from nowhere. He was born on 21st of January 1869 in peasant family at Pokrovskaya village at Tobolsk district in Siberia. He got practically no education, was hardly able to read and write, but when he was young, he became very religious. He began to travel across Russia, visiting different convents, monasteries and churches to get more of religious experience. He never decided to become monk or priest. He even got married and had children. But once he began to call himself starets, that means elder. Elder in Russian Orthodox tradition had an official status of a man with spiritual authority. He used to preach and teach people, and little by little became a rather popular and well-known religious guru. There is opinion that about the same time Rasputin joined very strange religious sect called Khlisty, means whips. They practiced sexual orgies to reach spiritual exaltation. That sect appeared in Siberia and spread around Russia. Of course, official Orthodox Church never supported that sect, but somehow Rasputin combined that sexual practices with Christian Orthodox theology. We don't have obvious evidences about that part of his private life, and we cannot fully prove it. But there are a couple of facts about Rasputin. The first fact is he was extremely popular among women. Most of his religious followers were women, and they accompanied him and followed him in his trips. And the second fact is very strange. He used to take his female disciples to sauna with him for some religious practices. They never told what he did with them in sauna. We can only guess what could happen there. Probably that very orgies. Anyway, they all kept in secret what was there. Rasputin is getting more and more famous in Siberia and other parts of Russia. It is time for him to win the capital of Russian Empire. In 1904, he arrives to St. Petersburg for the first time in his life. Rumors and gossips were running ahead of him, so when he appeared in St. Petersburg, many from high society were curious and wanted to meet him. Among them, Militsa and Stana, two princesses from Montenegro. Militsa became a wife to Grand Duke Pyotr Romanov. Stana at that time was a wife to Duke Lechtenbergsky. Both of them were religious and liked mysticism. They invited Rasputin to Sergeyevka, suburban estate of Lady Stana in Oranienbaum, about 20 miles away from St. Petersburg. Right here, in this mansion, in 1905, Rasputin was firstly presented to St. Petersburg High Society. Sergeyevka became a gate for him to enter the capital. After several parties in Sergeyevka, many other mansions and palaces in St. Petersburg welcomed him a lot. In this very place, the most important event in the life of Grigory Rasputin has happened. On November 1st, 1905, right here in Sergeyevka, Rasputin was introduced to Russian Emperor Nicholas II and his wife Alexandra. They were very much impressed with his spirituality. Afterwards, they used to meet him again and again. Romanovs, a Russian royal dynasty, the richest royal family in the world, Tsars, emperors. They reigned in Russia for more than 300 years, since 1613. They owned numerous palaces here in St. Petersburg and all across Russia. Just behind me is the Winter Palace, the major royal residence in Russia. Huge palace with more than 1,000 rooms. Nowadays, it accommodates the Hermitage, the most famous museum in the world, with the largest collection of art. That collection was mostly purchased by Romanov's family. But in the beginning of 20th century, the situation began to change for Romanovs. Luck just ran out from them and from all Russia. Last emperor, Nicholas II, became the worst ruler in a line. He was absolute monarch and absolute loser at the same time. Very weak as political leader, he had no wisdom, no will to make right decisions. Every step in his political career was either wrong decision or epic fail. Moreover, he was unlucky in his marriage. Nicholas married Princess Alex, half German, half British. From British side, she was a granddaughter of Queen Victoria, and she brought hemophilia from Windsor to Romanov's family. Ladies never suffer from hemophilia themselves, but they can only transfer it to their sons. Alexandra gave Nicholas II 4 daughters and 1 son, Prince Alexei, the heir to Russian throne. He suffered from hemophilia. If he got hurt or was slightly wounded, his blood didn't stop, and it could even cause death. Prince Alexei, the heir to Russian throne, had no chance to survive. Therefore, Russian Empire and Romanov's family had no future. Suddenly, Romanovs got a hope, Rasputin. At that time, Rasputin was also known as a healer. We don't know how, but he had ability to heal sick people. At least when he prayed for them, they often began to feel better and even got healed or recovered. Probably he was an extrasense or hypnotist, but anyhow it worked. Many people testified that they have been healed by him. Tsar's village, the southern suburb of St. Petersburg, about 16 miles away. Alexander's palace, the favorite place for Nicholas II and his family. They live here most of the year. Nicholas and Alexandra were desperate because of their son Prince Alexei's disease. They were glad to receive any hope. Moreover, no doctors could help. Many times, Prince Alexei was about to die because of bleeding. At such a moment, Rasputin came to them and first time prayed for the boy. The blood stopped. They considered it a miracle and got to believe that he was really a man of God, sent to help their family. That made Rasputin a very important person and the most close friend to Emperor and Empress. Just next to the palace, there was a house of Anna Vyrubova, the lady-in-waiting for the Empress Alexandra and her best friend. Very often, Nicholas and Alexandra used to meet with Rasputin here instead of the main palace to make his visits private and unofficial. Rasputin used the opportunity to submit Empress Alexandra and through her Emperor Nicholas. He could control them and manipulate them. Nicholas II was very weak as a leader and he never made a decision without asking his wife Alex. But Alex always used to ask Rasputin for advice. Terrible situation happened. Grigory Rasputin, a man from nowhere, came too close to royal family. He became a real decision maker. Tsar and Tsarina were completely dependent on him.
How does your father sit in this chair? Does he put his elbows on it? Or does he sit like this?
You better not let Papa know you sat in his chair. He'd be terribly upset.
There are a lot of people in Tobolsk who'd like to see me now. I was hungry and cold there.
Many famous politicians and ministers were asking Rasputin for favor to solve their problems and to get appointments in their political careers. Finally, he became a secret ruler of Russia. He was a power behind the throne. He was just like coronavirus. A small man from the east came to the very heart of Russia, infiltrated to Tsar's family, and started his destructive activity that made them weak and sick, and finally caused their physical death. He was a beast from the east. Obviously, most of Russian society were not happy with this new situation. They didn't want to see Rasputin as a power behind the throne. For most of people, Empress Alexandra and Emperor Nicholas looked like muppets in his hands. Big shame and disgrace. A lot of rumors were spread about them. Some of them were bad and dirty. And nasty caricatures were printed in many newspapers and tabloids. They depicted Empress Alexandra as a sexual lover of Grigory Rasputin, who looked like a demon from hell. Nicholas II was shown as stupid cuckold. At the same time, they depicted Rasputin as womanizer, love hero, Don Juan, a man who had numerous sexual contacts to many ladies from Russian aristocratic society. Boniem, in their famous song, calls him Russia's greatest love machine. Many noble families became targets for Rasputin's sexual activity. At least in those rumors, he looked like professional pick-upper who spent his life in harassment, hunting for someone's wives. Such a behavior of Rasputin discredited aristocratic society and made husbands jealous, desiring to avenge themselves. Nowadays, such caricatures on TV probably would look like that. It's a time to clear up situation, to answer most popular questions about Rasputin, and to comment some rumor statements about him. Let's take it from that Boniem's song. No, he was not. Towards the Empress, he was like an angel from heaven, man of God, messenger, prophet, saint, and he played that role very well. Moreover, the Empress was a very religious lady, and of course she could not consider Grigory Rasputin as sexual lover. Adultery was unacceptable for her. Yes, he was. There are a lot of circumstantial evidences proving that statement. Let's see. First, his interest to someone's wives. Second, he was extremely popular among women. Most of his fans and followers were women who stayed around him and accompanied him in many trips, even to Siberia. Third, there were many jealous husbands who dreamed to kill him, and I believe they had a reason for that. And finally, numerous rumors about his sexual adventures. At least some of them were based on real facts.
selber meint es zart.
Oh yeah, he really did. He was the power behind the throne. Yes, she didn't mind all the bad rumors about him. For her, he was man of God who would heal her son. And as it was testified, his prayers very often really helped Prince Alexei.
But when his drinking, lusting, and his hunger for power became known to more and more people, the demands to do something about this outrageous man became louder and louder.
More and more people desired to kill Rasputin to set Russia free from his virus, demonic influence. On the other hand, there were still many people who adored him as saint and pilgrimed to follow him. At Gorokhovo Street, house number 64, in a small apartment, Grigory Rasputin used to live. Many pilgrims and other visitors were waiting here in line for his audience. Among them aristocrats, politicians, and people of humble origin. They were asking for help, assistance, patronage, and even money. Rasputin spent many hours a day trying to help everyone to be useful. That made him more and more popular, significant, and influential. Someone had to stop Rasputin and to deliver Russia from the shame. That was only one effective and traditional way to stop a man in Russia: assassination. Many people dreamed to kill the holy devil, how they called Grigory Rasputin. Some of them even tried. There were few attempts to assassinate him, but all of them failed. Once, in summer 1914, at his native village, Pokrovskoye in Siberia, Grigory Rasputin was seriously injured, but survived. Finally, in 1916, young and ambitious aristocrat Prince Felix Yusupov really made a decision to kill Rasputin. Yusupovs were the richest aristocratic family in Russia. Someone said they were even richer than Romanovs. Nowadays, we would call them multi-billionaires. They owned 4 palaces in St. Petersburg, 1 in Moscow, numerous country estates in different parts of Russia, including 2 in Crimea, on the Black Sea. Also, they owned many factories and enterprises. The palace on Moika 94 was a main residence for Yusupov's family. They owned that from 1830s. It was luxury decorated. The palace accommodated one of the greatest collection of arts. Young Prince Felix Yusupov was recently honored to marry Irina Romanova, the niece of Nicholas II. That marriage made him a relative to Tsar and practically member of royal family. Felix was annoyed to see Tsar and Tsarina weak and manipulated by strange men from nowhere. He made a decision to assassinate Rasputin. He really believed that the death of Rasputin would set Nicholas II free from his demonic control and save Russia in that hard time. Russia was involved to First World War. That was December of 1916. From this point, please follow me in the Pulp Fiction about how that crime happened. Felix Yusupov could not kill Rasputin alone. He asked someone to assist him. 5 persons agreed to assassinate Rasputin. Here they are. Prince Felix Yusupov as a leader of the conspiracy. Grand Duke Dmitry Romanov. He was a cousin of the Emperor Nicholas II. Handsome young man, old friend of Felix Yusupov. Many people rumored that they had a love affair. At that time, Felix was 29 years old and Dmitry was 25. Vladimir Purishkevich, right-wing politician, member of Russian Parliament, the State Duma. He was furious patriot, wishing to see Russian Empire great again. Military doctor Lazavert, a man of Purishkevich. His job was to provide cyanide to poison Rasputin. Military officer, Senior Lieutenant Sergei Sukhotin. He was a friend of Yusupov's family and also joined the conspiracy. His duty was just to help if something went wrong. Some other politicians were also involved in the conspiracy, but only those 5 were supposed to perform the assassination physically. The plan was to invite Rasputin for a small secret party that was going to happen here at Yusupov Palace in the night from December 29 to December 30, new style, or December 16 to 17, old style. The party was specially arranged to introduce Rasputin to Irina, new wife of Felix. Rasputin was womanizer. He desired to meet someone's wives. He never met Irina before, but he really dreamed for that. That was a trap for Rasputin. Irina was not in the palace. She was far away in Crimea, and of course, she did not plan to meet him at all. It was absolutely no risk for her. But Rasputin was promised to meet Irina. That's why he had to come to the palace after midnight incognito and enter through the side door, so no one could see his visit. Late in the night, Felix brought Rasputin from his apartment to the palace. He took him through this side door. That secret door led to Felix's boudoir, located in the corner of the palace. Felix used that boudoir for his private parties only. The room was ready for the party. There were cakes on a table poisoned with cyanide, and there were red Madeira wine also poisoned with the same cyanide. The amount of cyanide provided by Dr. Lazavert was enough to kill the elephant. The plan was to keep Rasputin waiting for Irina in the room located in the basement of the palace. Here is that room. The table with cakes and wine was there. At the same time, other members of the team were sitting in the room upstairs. They imitated the party that was actually not true. They just made a noise and heard a loud music from gramophone, old type of vinyl disc player. Felix treated Rasputin with poisoned cakes and poisoned wine, but it didn't affect him at all. Felix ran up and asked the other team members what to do. Poison didn't work. Grand Duke Dmitri gave Felix a revolver to shoot Rasputin. Felix is back to Rasputin, to the same room in the basement. He suggests Grigory to face to the crystal cross which is on the wall and pray. Rasputin does. The next moment, Felix shoots him in his back. The bullet likely hits the heart. Rasputin falls dead on the skin of a polar bear which is on the floor. Red blood flows on white bear skin. Felix arises to the upper room to inform the conspirators that Rasputin is dead. He asks them to pack the body, put him to the trunk and take him away. The plan was to get rid of the body. After that, Felix returns to the same room in the basement to look one more time at the face of his defeated enemy. At that moment, Rasputin opens his eyes and stares at Felix's face. Later, Yusupov told that it seemed to him that the devil was looking at him. Rasputin repeats again and again, Felix, 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 and tries to strangle him with fingers. For a while, they are fighting on the floor. Next moment, Rasputin pushes Felix away and climbs on all fours by staircase as a beast, making a loud growl and roar. Felix screams to his friends. He's running away. Catch him, shoot him. Rasputin leaves the palace through the same secret door. He tries to escape through the side yard. The yard still exists, but nowadays it's a playground for children. At the end of the yard there was a gate. The gate was right here. Rasputin runs through the yard to the gate. Purishkevich furiously chases him and finally shoots him in his back 4 times. The 4th bullet hits his brain. Rasputin falls again. He is obviously dead. They took the body of Rasputin back to the palace through the same side door. But inside, something strange happened to Felix. He had nervous breakdown, uncontrollably attacked the body and began to beat it with police rubber baton. The others hardly stopped him, but the body was seriously damaged. They wrapped the body in Rasputin's fur coat, put it to the trunk of Grand Duke Dmitri's car, and drove away. All the snow in the yard was stained with blood. The conspirators had to fix it, and they found a solution. They shot a dog, so the dog's blood was all around. When policemen came to ask what was happening, as he heard the sounds of shooting guns, they explained. They had a party in the palace, got drunk, and Grand Duke Dmitri has shot a dog. The dog's body was presented. The answer was accepted by police. The conspirators drove to Petrovsky Bridge between Petrovsky and Krestovsky Islands on Small Nevka River. That was about 5 miles away from the palace. The river was frozen, but there was an ice hole in the ice. They dropped the body into the ice hole. They hoped the river would take it to the Gulf. Unfortunately, they were unprofessional killers. The fence of the bridge was stained with the blood. One of Rasputin's boots was also lost there and found by police. Police carefully inspected the river and soon found the body of Rasputin frozen to the ice nearby. That was December 19, Old Style, or January 1st, New Style. The crime was uncovered in 2 days. Felix Yusupov and Grand Duke Dmitri have been recognized as murderers, but they were not seriously punished because both of them were part of Romanov's family. Grand Duke Dmitri was sent to Russian army in Persia. A week after crime, on 24th of December Old Style or 6th of January New Style, he left Sergeyevsky Palace, where he used to live in St. Petersburg, and never returned. Felix Yusupov was also exiled to his country estate Rakitna in the center of Russia, and later sent to his another estate in Crimea. It saved their lives. When revolution happened 2 months later in St. Petersburg, both of them, Felix and Dmitri, they were far away from that. Rasputin was also known as a prophet and fortune teller. Somehow he expected his assassination and even predicted what was going to happen in Russia afterwards. Many people heard how he fortune told. I will just share with you the most significant of his prophecies. He used to say to Tsar and his family about the future of Russia: as long as I live, everything is going to be well. But if I die, the rivers of blood would flow. The other prophecy was spoken about that place, Peter and Paul Fortress, the heart of St. Petersburg, From there, the city has begun in 1703. Almost all Romanovs are buried there inside of Peter and Paul Cathedral. Once, in 1916, Rasputin was accompanied with a group of followers, ladies as usual. He pointed to the fortress and fortune told, "I see many tortured victims, not just few single ones, but crowds. I see a lot of corpses, among them few grand dukes and hundreds of aristocrats. Neva River will be red with blood." Both prophecies came true. Rasputin was assassinated on 30th of December of 1916, new style, or 17th of December, old style, already in 2 months. In February 1917, first Russian Revolution happened. Nicholas II was forced to sign abdication from the throne already on 2nd of March 1917. The monarchy in Russia fell. Tsar's family, as well as most of Romanovs, were arrested. Hundreds of aristocrats were imprisoned to Peter and Paul fortress. Second Bolshevik revolution happened in October of 1917, same year. Bolsheviks arranged so-called Red Terror, when most of Romanovs were killed and almost 2 million people were executed. Right there, in Peter and Paul Fortress, in January 1919, Bolsheviks shot 4 Grand Dukes Romanovs, together with hundreds of other aristocrats. Totally, they executed few thousand people there. Remember the prophecy about that place. Total losses of Russia after revolution and civil war within 1917 and 1922 were almost 12 million people. Truly, rivers of blood. The most significant prophecy of Rasputin was later published by Charles Gibbs, who used to teach English the children of last Emperor Nicholas II. He became a friend of royal family and decided to follow them to Siberia, where the family has been exiled. The prophecy was written by Rasputin's hand on a small piece of paper and handed to Nicholas II not long before Rasputin's assassination. Nicholas kept the prophecy secretly in his Bible and once allowed Charles Gibbs to read it. The prophecy really makes sense. The letter was addressed to Tsar, Tsarina, the children, and to all Russia. It was written not long before everything has happened. The prophecy is rather long, so I will give you just a short version of that. Rasputin fortune told that he would have been killed before January 1st, 1917, and if he were murdered by someone from Romanov's relatives, then no one from Romanov's would live longer than 2 years. Russian Tsar would be killed by Russian people. All the nation would be damned. Russians would kill Russians. The country would become like a hell. Churches would be closed and destroyed. And all that would last 3 times by 25 years. Totally 75 years.
Mark my words, you and your family will die within a fortnight. I will not rest until I see the end of the Romanov line forever.
The prophecy came true. Grigory Rasputin was assassinated on December 30, 1916 New Style or December 17, 1916 Old Style. So, before January 1st, 1917, just as he fortune told. He was murdered by Felix Yusupov and Grand Duke Dmitry. Both of them were relatives of Romanov's family. Grand Duke Dmitry was cousin to Nicholas II, so had the same Romanov's blood. On March 8, 1917, Nicholas II and his family, they were arrested. Soon, the most of other members of Romanov's family were arrested as well. Later, in 1918, most of them were executed by Bolsheviks government. On June 13, Grand Duke Michael, the brother of Nicholas II, was shot in Perm. Later, on July 17, in Yekaterinburg, the Emperor Nicholas II, his wife Empress Alexandra, 4 daughters and 1 son, Prince Alexei, were assassinated by Bolsheviks. The next night, on July 18, 6 other members of Romanov's family were cruelly murdered in Alapayevsk on Ural Mountains. Among them, Grand Duchess Elizabeth, the sister of Empress Alexandra. One more, Grand Duke Romanov, was also killed by Bolsheviks the same summer in Tashkent, Uzbekistan. And finally, in January 1919, here in St. Petersburg, at Peter and Paul Fortress, 4 other Grand Dukes Romanovs were executed, together with hundreds and other aristocrats. Totally, 19 members of Romanov's family were killed by Bolsheviks, all within 2 years. As I already mentioned, Russia was put on house of revolution and civil war for about 5 years, from 1917 till 1922. Almost 2 million people were executed. Totally 12 million died. 2.5 million of people from Russian high society escaped from Russia, became immigrants and stayed there for the rest of their lives. Communist regime became the hardest period in all Russian history. Most of churches were closed and destroyed. Soviet Union was famous by its political repressions. Few million were executed and many million were exiled to famous Siberian Gulag concentration camps in 1930s, 1950s. Almost 40 million of Soviet people died in the Second World War. Soviet regime lasted exactly 75 years, 3 times by 25, just like Rasputin fortune told. He was assassinated on December 30th, 1916. Soviet Union collapsed and was officially dismissed on 25th of December 1991. That was a day when last Soviet president, Mikhail Gorbachev, left his office in Kremlin. Yes, the dark prophecy came true. The curse of 75 years ended. You may ask, what happened to Rasputin's body and where is his grave? The body was caught by police in Small Nevka River and taken to the morgue for coroner's autopsy. The morgue was located at Chesma Palace. That time it was an almshouse for retired soldiers, but originally the palace was built for the Empress Catherine the Great as a road palace for her on the way from St. Petersburg to Tsar's village. The autopsy report was kept in secret and never published. Later, it mystically disappeared from KGB archives. But people rumored that the lungs of Rasputin were full with water. That means he was still alive when they dropped the body to the river. So, he probably died not from bullets or even cyanide, but because he was drowned. Wow, that was not easy to kill the holy devil. After the autopsy, they put the body of Rasputin into a zinc coffin and transported to the burial place. Tsar and Tsarina decided to bury him in a secret place close to their palace, somewhere here. Just a few people knew about that place. The funeral happened in the morning on December 21st, Old Style, or January 3, New Style. Even today, we cannot find exact place where his grave was. But it is not the end of the story. February Revolution happened. Nicholas II signed abdication from the throne on the 2nd of March 1917. Already on 8th of March 1917, he was put under home arrest with his family in Alexandrovsky Palace, here in Tsar's village. New provisional government that came to power in Russia made a decision to find the secret grave of Rasputin to get rid of his body completely. They were afraid of his fans and followers. The government didn't want them to worship his body as martyrs' relics. They managed to find the grave, and on the 8th of March, that very day when Nicholas and his family have been put under home arrest in Alexandrovsky Palace, they excavated the grave and removed the body. Within next 2 days, the coffin with Rasputin's body was secretly moved from place to place to hide it from crowds of his fans. Finally, in the night from March 10 to 11, the truck with the coffin left the city and drove to Lesnoye, the northern suburb of St. Petersburg. The original plan was to cremate the body in the boiler room of Polytechnical University, but it didn't happen. That night the weather was bad. There was a strong snowstorm. The truck stuck in the snow on a forest road near Piskaryovka village. Nowadays it's a district of St. Petersburg. That time just a midst of nowhere. They made a decision to cremate the body right there in a forest next to the road. They cut down several birches for firewood, splashed gasoline and lit a bonfire. The cremation began. Someone told, "When Rasputin's body has been put on fire," he said. That was not easy cremation. It took them more than 4 hours. Very hard night. All the details of the story became top secret. And even today, we cannot find exact place of cremation, just somewhere nearby. Here, the earthen way of Rasputin has ended. Rasputin became real coronavirus for Russian Empire and for Romanov's dynasty. He took their crowns, killed the monarchy, and destroyed their kingdom. The virus caused a revolution and civil war. 12 million people became victims of that. They either died or were killed within the next few years. Millions have been forced to leave Russia. They never returned back. That was a real epidemic. I can even say pandemia. The virus of revolution spread around Europe and all the world. Finally, now it's a time for all of us to answer the most important questions about Grigory Rasputin. The question number 1. Was he a saint, man of God? No, I think he was not. The second question, was he a trickster, hoaxer? Yes, I think he was. The third question, was he a magician, a man from hell? Yes, I think he was. And the last question, did Rasputin kill Bobby Farrell? What do you think? All of that was my personal opinion, based on historical researches, memories and diaries. You can make your own opinion about Rasputin after watching our program. Thanks for being watching us. That was Hedgehog TV. The program was presented by me, Edward Chuchakin, and my wife, Zoe Sofronova. I hope you liked that. If so, please do not hesitate to donate us. You can find link to PayPal in description or contact us direct. Your donations will be highly appreciated. It will support us in this hard time when no tourists visit St. Petersburg. The money you donate will help us to make new interesting programs for you. Our next program Last Romanovs, the end of empire, will be very exciting. Secrets, scandals, adultery, betrayals, all based on true historical facts. Please click the like button and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We do hope to see you in future in St. Petersburg as our tourists. See you!